Yes. Okay, that's that bit. Now, the big question is this working at all? Yes. Anthony Murphy's live now in the Mythical Ireland community. Okay. What about the page? The Mythical Ireland page. That has to happen. Yes. Okay. Good. I apologise. This is our second attempt. Apparently, I don't like the focusing either. I've done something to the camera. It seems to be constantly trying to focus. I do apologise. Bear with me for a moment while we iron out the technical issues. One moment, please. Okay, I'm just going to leave it. I don't know what's happening. Hope everybody's keeping well. If you're here, say hello. I do apologise. Technical issues plaguing the series again. No idea why the focus is hunting. It normally doesn't do that. So, anyway, doesn't really matter. Good evening, everybody. We are here. Live Irish Myths episode number 141. Tonight, we're talking about deities of the Tuatha Dé Danann and a little bit more. We've had lots of episodes about various deities, but we haven't perhaps covered some of the more obscure ones. So we're going to be doing that. And in addition to that, I have some announcements to make. But before I do that, I'll say hello to Paula Snow Queen, who's watching on both, apparently, YouTube and Facebook, which is brilliant. Robin Rickman is in the house. Stephen Walker is saying YouTube is working. Yes, brilliant. Tamara Marie is here. Desiree Riley is here, who's also watching on both Facebook and YouTube. She can confirm that both are actually working, which is fantastic. Deborah Williams says, good to see you. I don't see you on YouTube, though. Oh, no. No, it has to be working on both. If it's not working on both, no, it is. No, hang on now. I'm just going to play that now. That's just. Yes. Okay, bear with me for a moment. Dear, has it stopped? Has YouTube stopped? Oh my God. Anyway, while that's happening, I'll say hello also to Anne Scott Doherty, who's in Grants Pass in Oregon. Hello, Anne. Good evening to you. Anne McCallum is in the house. Says hello to the mighty Tuatha Dé Danann. Greetings from Ontario, Canada. Hope you're all doing well. What a pleasure to be invited back into Choc Muraku for more myths. Archaeoastronomy Database is here. Linda Geyer is here. Linda, I apologise if I mispronounce your surname, but it's nice to see you. Michael McGowan is here, says it looks okay. Anybody watching on YouTube confirm that it's still okay? Nick Escacasterton says hello to all the wonderful Tua. Morwena Blog says good morning. Hello, Morwena. It's early where you are. Deborah Williams is on YouTube. Brilliant. Donna Jean Porter says hi from sunny Florida. Hello, Tua. Says Joe Butler. Look okay. Anne McCallum is saying hello to Tom. Hello, Tom must be in the house. I must have missed that. Michael McGowan is in California. Stephen Walker. Yes, Stephen, we don't mention that word. F word infestation. Definitely. Xandru Riguera says hi, Anthony. Hello to you. Joanne Wolf says hello. And indeed, right back to you. Olwen Roy Badziak's in the house. I'm not seeing any comments from YouTube, which has me worried. Robin Rickman says, good. We seem to be working out, are we? We're working okay. John Main is in the house. Hello, John. Snapper Earl is there as well. Fantastic stuff. We have a full house tonight. Shannon Donoghue is there. Thank you for doing a program today. It is my great pleasure. Wait till you hear what I've been up to. Aaron Durrett says, so happy to be back with you again. The focusing thing is making me a little seasick, though. I don't know what's going on with that. I really don't. I mean, the camera settings haven't changed. I don't think. Let me just double check again. I do apologise. I'll just tuck in my belly while I lean over there now. Autofocus continuous. Do you know what? I'm going to put it on manual. I'm going to do something really mad, right? I'm going to put it on manual focus. Hang on a second till I make sure it's focused. Now it won't flicker. There you go. I apologise. I'm really sorry for the technical issues tonight. Alistair McKinnon says, is the sun out? No, not in the Boyne Valley it isn't. Mind you, it's just sunset here. Another thing that's great about the time of year that it is April, 12th of April, and Live Irish Myths is on at 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's not dark. Brilliant. We've had months of darkness. Marie in Copenhagen says hello. Hello, Marie. Both of mine are running fine. That's brilliant. Thanks, Desiree. Nuala Doyle is in the house. Hello, Nuala. Mary Burgess says YouTube is working. That's great. Super, super, super. All good then. See, we wouldn't want to deprive a particular audience. Some people are not on Facebook and some people are not on YouTube. So it's best to give everybody the chance. Barb Jordan, who was there in episode 1 all the way back on the 12th of March 2020. Porrick Byrne says YouTube's working fine. Brilliant stuff. Alan Taff is in the house. Hello, Alan. Charlie Grover says hello, sir. Hello, indeed. Chungus Khan is laughing at my misfortunes, no doubt. Brendan Byrne is in Glendalough. Stay calm, and the little people might help us to get through this. Good idea, Brendan. Maureen O'Leary says YouTube working. When you restarted, I had to exit the page and come back to get live. Yeah, absolutely. You see, it's a different feed, so that's exactly what you have to do. Owls Perch is in Florida. Hello to you. Margaret Kiernan says, hello, Anthony, and all the guys and gals. There's a coda here on the sweater. Rowan, I did my very best. I cleaned, dusted, hoovered, tidied this whole room today, and I did my best. Coda and Saskia are both shedding, and there's dog hair everywhere in heaps and piles. I kid you not. Richard Leonard, can you give out a shout to Shannon in Alaska? Yes, we certainly can. Hello, Shannon in Alaska. Hope you're enjoying the live stream. Not that there's been much so far, except for technical glitches and hellos, but we'll get there. Mandy McCurl is in the house. Hello, Mandy. Long time. No talk. Kathleen Mallon is in Melbourne. Kathleen, it must be ridiculous o'clock in Melbourne. It has to be really early in the morning there. Thank you for getting up so early. Sheila Gunn says, hello, perfect, Anthony. Rainy here. Yes, it's been quite a rainy day in the Boyne Valley. We have had a cold week. We've had a cold week and a half. Unusually cold. Unseasonably cold. Daisy says, we have missed our Mythical Ireland lives and chats. Yeah, I have a little bit of explaining to do as well. Judy McQueen is in the house. Actually, I must mention that. I will mention that. Tom King says, hello there, Anthony. Lovely to be amongst the two. Hope all in good fettle. A dram raised to all for good health. Sláinte. Blacksmith's blessings to all. You're very good, Tom. Thank you. So glad to see you back again, says Sue Prenter. Paul Campbell. Oh, where did that one go? Oh, there's so many comments. They're flying up the screen. It is easy to share this Facebook Live event. Yes, Paul is giving advice about sharing. Thank you, Paul. Carlotta in California says, Facebook user, and it doesn't say who it is. That's strange. Fiona Tinker's in the house, both working in Scotland. Brilliant stuff. Archaeoastronomy Database is enjoying the chat. Michael Carl Enku Eid says, glad I came back. Hello from Georgia in the USA. Hello to Georgia in the USA from Drogheda in the Boyne Valley. Glan na Boine. F-word infestation. That word shall not be uttered is correct. Chungus. Sheila Gunn says, we train Labradors and Chesapeake Bay Retrievers. You want hair? Well, actually, Coda is a Shepherdor. He's half German Shepherd, half Black Labrador. Jim Conway's in the house. I've just had a great A.E. Russell Virtual Festival at which you, Anthony, got a big mention. The festival has been recorded on Facebook. Brilliant stuff, Jim. I'm sorry I missed that. For obvious reasons that I'll get to in a moment, I have had the head down here for a while, but I will catch up on it. And maybe if you private message me the link or even email me the link, I'll catch up on it later. Looking forward to seeing that. Yvette Tillema is in the house. Good to be here with you, friends. Good to have you here, Yvette. Nora Gaffney O'Connor says, looking good, Anthony. You were missed. Look, you have to... absence makes the heart grow fonder. You have to have the occasional break. Not that I had a break, and I keep saying it. I'll get to that in a moment. Deborah Danhauer says, hi all from Nashville, Tennessee. Are you back now? Hope all is well. Well, I hope so. Sean Porrig O'Donoghue says hello from Western Maine. Goramagat. Sláinte, Sean, good to have you in the house. Good to have you in the Mythical Ireland Library. Merritt Braun Schmidt says, good evening, greetings from Switzerland. Hello to you, Merritt. We haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you back. Knit sweaters with the dog hair is Mandy McCurl's solution to this ongoing problem. Yes. There you go. Louise Sherrill says, still going. Samantha Healy is saying, good evening to the Tua, but mistyped it and said, good Evie. Marga Chow says, greetings from Galicia, the home of the Milesians. We love Ireland. Thanks all for the wisdom and the humour. Well, Marga, we love Spain. So there you go. It's a mutual love affair. Ireland and Spain, we just love each other. Anyway, I think that's all the comments. I've flown through them for the purpose of expedition. I do want to say, if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, this is a live stream. And remember that all of the hellos and the greetings are an essential part of Live Irish Myths, as they have been since episode 1 on the 12th of March 2020. It's a big part of what we do. Lots of comments on YouTube over the last few months, I have to sit through comments. It took me 18 minutes to get to the juicy bit. It's like, look, there's a fast forward button, and there's usually a thing in the comments saying go to such and such a timestamp to go past all the comments and hellos and introductions if you don't want to hear them. But this is a live stream, recorded live, and it's an essential part of it. So don't complain. Just use the fast forward button. Anyway, the guest live streams I do intend to come back to. As you know, the last one we had, episode 10, featured the prehistory guys. And those events were on Zoom and uploaded to YouTube afterwards. And in fact, of all of the live Myths episodes that we've had, they seem to be the most viewed afterwards on YouTube. So everybody seems to be enjoying those. Helen Hirsch Chatter is in the house. Hello to all. And Claire Quinn says hello from Wales. Which book, if that's a vet Tillam, it has to be. Yes, it is. I will tell you in a moment. See, Shias, Colini, August, no be a conch. It's grand. I'll get to that. So I do intend to return to the guest live streams, but one thing that I do want to say is that they were taking up quite a lot of time in terms of preparation for them. I was finding that I was having to read a lot of material and form questions and all the rest. And I just wanted to take a break from that because it's much easier to do the regular live streams than the guest live streams. The guest live streams will continue. I'm not sure if they'll be weekly. There's another thing that I did say I was taking a break, and I had a week off work, as in the day job. And did I sit and relax for the week? Nope, I certainly did not. And I am delighted. You may have seen the announcement earlier on, but I'm delighted to announce the first, I hope, in a series of what I'm calling the Mythical Ireland monographs. Now, don't be scared by that title, because monograph suggests an academic paper. It may also carry the suggestion of boring, being a bit bland or a bit heavy or a bit boring. It's not like that. I wanted to write a series of booklets, papers about the subjects that we've been covering, except for I wanted them to be quite academic in terms of the sources that are referenced and the footnotes, etc. So, for instance, the first in the series, which is called Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge, Mythology, Toponymy and Cosmology, sounds very heavy, but if you're a patron of Mythical Ireland, the Bronze Age level patrons and above received the draft text of the first monograph a couple of days ago, and they have been enjoying it. Now, it's quite a read. It's 16,000 words, and will make a 70-page A5 booklet. But I spent basically the entire time of my holiday time from work compiling the first of the monograph series, which I hope you agree when you see it is composed to a fairly high standard. Now, I wanted to take the story of Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge and refer to both the manuscript source. There's only one manuscript source for that story. The other versions are all oral versions carried from the remote distance of the past into pretty much the present. We heard it as children in school, and most people in Ireland would be familiar with the story. However, there's a lot going on in the story, and it's, for instance, never been exactly pinpointed where Fiach's Pool is, which is where the Salmon of Knowledge was caught. I examine how Finn and the druid or seer, or the wise old man who is the one who's actually waiting for the Salmon of Knowledge at Fiach's Pool, and how they are connected. Finn's name before he caught the Salmon of Knowledge, or before he ate the Salmon of Knowledge, was Jevne, which is a very interesting name, and I explore the meanings of that. I explore the connections between Finn and other, shall we say, illustrious deities of the Brúnabonia area, because, of course, Linn Féach, Fiach's Pool, is at Rossnaree, close to Cletchik, in the Boyne Valley. And so I study the toponymy and the geography of Fiach's Pool, again, from the academic sources, from the original source material, as it were, or the scholarly translations of whatever material we have. And there's even some Jungian psychology in it, because I talk about the boon and the peril of the deep pool and the deeper meanings of the story of the Salmon of Knowledge. Anyway, I hope that you enjoy it. It is going to be available both in terms of digital and print. It's going to be available on Amazon Kindle in a couple of days' time. And that's, if you just go to the Anthony Murphy author page on Amazon. I'll share these links later on. And also, there's a version going to print. I have it designed and formatted. Was just doing a bit of proofreading with help from a couple of others. Thank you very much. You know who you are. And it's going to go to print in the next few days. And hopefully I'll have copies in about a week's time. It's not expensive. It's going to be €10 plus postage and packaging. And of course, if you order on the Mythical Ireland website at mythicalireland.com, I will send you, of course, a signed copy, as I always do. So the first in a series, I haven't got a plan for what the other ones are going to be, and I have no idea how big the series is going to be. All I can say is, if you just look at Live Irish Myths, for example, we're on episode 141 and we're still going. This is the sort of thing that has the potential to go for a long time into the future. But the one thing that it needs is it needs an investment of time and concentration and focus. So for the past week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week in particular, when I was really sort of stuck into it, I actually realized afterwards that I'd been working 12 to 14 hours a day compiling this monograph. It's short and sweet. It's not like any of the books that I've written before, but I still think that you will get great enjoyment and depth out of it. And as I say, the important thing is if you want to explore it further, all of the sources are there for you. All of the sources known to me anyway. And there aren't that many of them, but it should be good. Oh, I see Vicky is in the house. And yeah, we want to say hello, especially to Evan, and hope that you're well after your little trip to the emergency department. Mammy tells me that she thinks you're okay, but we're all rooting for you, and hope Mammy is okay as well. Keep the good side out. And the other thing is, don't forget, of course, that Return to Segish, if you haven't got your hands on it, has been received quite brilliantly so far by those who have read it. I'm delighted to report. And I want to read something to you. This is just a great honour for me, actually. Our friend Moncon McGann, who was our guest on the second Live Irish Myths in Conversation episode, wrote me a short review. And he says that it's a powerful piece of writing, a mix of lyrical prose with evocative insights, all threaded together into an alluring whole that makes one grasp complex ideas and sensibilities that it would otherwise seem impossible to communicate. So Moncon McGann really likes it, and I'm glad that Moncon has a copy of Return to Segish. Don't forget, shout out to Sean Fitzgerald, a long-time friend of Mythical Ireland, for his wonderful work on the cover. I forgot, I'm on manual focus, so I have to hold it at the right distance. So Return to Segish, again, signed copy from the author, from mythicalireland.com. Go to the gallery and shop and go to the books section. There you go. Now, John Main is in the house. Hello, John. I'm not sure if I said hello to you earlier on. Dan B says, working on a book myself and find 10 hours passing just like that when I'm researching and compiling. It's exactly how it happens. When you're doing something you really love, time just really flies. You don't feel like you're working. Although, I have to be honest, I was supposed to be taking a break. But there you go. Sue Prenter says, I just finished it today. I presume you're talking about Return to Segish. And absolutely adored it. We'll send comments later. Brilliant, Sue. I look forward to seeing those. Thank you for that. And Elizabeth Long is Betty in McBride, British Columbia, Canada here. So great to watch the live. Great to have you along, Betty. I hope you are well. Wendy Holmes is in the house as well. Can't wait to purchase and read. Great stuff. As I say, hopefully, if time allows, time and energy and everything else, that will be the first in, hopefully, a long and fruitful series of monographs. And as I say, don't be scared by the word monograph. I wanted to convey that it is, of an academic quality, but I promise it won't bore you. Definitely won't. And if perhaps one or two of the patrons who have read it might comment, that would be even better again as to what you thought of it. Okay. Right, so what are we on? 22 minutes. I know. You see, this is what the YouTubers complain about afterwards. I'll put a timestamp on. So tonight I'm reading from P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland. Now, this is one of these facsimile reprints that I'm so fond of. Originally published, this is published in 2 volumes, I think. I'm not sure where the second one starts. I do apologize. I should have done that work. This is volume 1, and this was published originally in 1903, and this is one of the Scholar Select reprints. And just to show you, it's a facsimile reprint. It's not perfect, but you know what? It's close to perfect. It's pretty damn good. So we're going to talk tonight about deities and the Tuatha Dé Danann, and then we're going to talk a little bit about individual deities. Now, I did realize earlier today when I was looking through this that I think that there's more here than we can fit into one episode, to be honest. So this is going to be probably 2 episodes. And there are other subjects that he covers that may spread it out even further. But from the point of view of the Tuatha Dé Danann, this is certainly a 2-episode series. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll get going if everybody's comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, well, make yourself comfortable. Don't forget your cup of tea or your dram or your, in my case, a glass of water. How lucky are we in Drogheda that the drinking water, that's treated, by the way, that comes out of our faucet, if you're in America, tap, is from the River Boyne. All hail Boyne. Cheers, Boyne. Thank you for your wisdom. The same river that the salmon swim in, up and down the river from Segish and back, is the same river that feeds the taps of all of Drogheda and its hinterland. So this is Religion, Learning and Art, covered under Paganism, and this is page 248, just in case you happen to have the text for yourself. The names for God. In the Irish language, there are several names for God in general, without reference to any particular God. So, for instance, we heard from Monachan, didn't we, that when you say, in Irish, the only real way of saying hello, apart from hi, H-A-I-G-H, is Diagrich, and that literally means God be with you. But as Moncon says, that doesn't imply the God of Christianity. That is not specific to a particular God. It's more or less a way of saying, your God be with you, whatever God you believe in, which I think is wonderful. And it will be convenient to bring them all together here, whether in Christian or pagan connection. The most general is Gia, Giagwich. D-I-A, the genitive of which is Dei, D-E fada, J, which, with some variations in spelling, is common to many of the Aryan languages. It was used in pagan as well as in Christian times, and is the Irish word in universal use at the present day for God. The word Fiadú is sometimes used for Lord or God, for which see Windisch, Orterbach, and Stokes's Lives CV. Okay, see, this is where it gets a bit academic. This is where I put a little footnote in the monograph. By the way, the monograph, as I say, runs to about 70 pages. There are 240, nearly 250 footnotes and references, a highly referenced work. Art, A-R-T, is explained in Cormac's glossary. That's Sanas Cormac. Cormac died at the end, was at the end of the 10th century or the beginning of the 11th. I mean, this is a 1,000-year-old dictionary of Irish words, 1,400 words. Art is explained in Cormac's glossary as meaning God. Another name was Jesh, D-E-S-S. The Lady Emer, as we read in the Courtship of Emer, known in Irish as Tuachmarc Emere, in the Book of the Dun Cow. By the way, Tuachmarc Emere referenced in the first monograph in relation to Fiach's Pool, and I won't tell you why, because you'll have to go out and get it for yourself. In the Book of the Dun Cow, on seeing Cuchulainn, saluted him with the words, "May Jesh make smooth the path before thee." Isn't that lovely? Isn't that a lovely way to greet somebody? May God make the path smooth before you. And again, no reference to which God. So it might be Lou, for instance, or it might be Bridget, or it might be Boan, whoever you want. And in the old text, which is in LU, which is Laura Mahura, the Book of the Dun Cow, Jesh is explained by Gia, God, written between the lines. In other words, glossed by one of the monks. Just in case you were confused as to what Jesh meant, it means Gia, God. This word Jesh, as a name for God, must have been old and obscure when the book was compiled in AD 1100. That's the Laura Mahira, the earliest entirely in Irish manuscript that survives. Inasmuch as the writer thought it necessary to explain it, and it was obscure even at the supposed time of the meeting, for Cuchulainn and Emer carried on their conversation in intentionally obscure words. And that's where Muirhevna gets mentioned. And Muirhevna is the mysterious plain that was covered by the sea, inhabited by a great monster called the Mata. Of more, see Mythical Ireland, New Light on the Ancient Past, published 2017 by Liffey Press, or, if you prefer to wait, see the forthcoming Mythical Ireland monograph #1, Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge. In intentionally obscure words, of which Jesh was one, that the hearers might not understand them. In an old glossary, the Dul Lochne, in the handwriting of Doald MacFurbish, as quoted by Stokes, the MacFurbishi were one of the great sort of bardic tribes. As quoted by Stokes, 3 other ancient names for God are given, all explained by Gia, Teo, Tiamud, and Dar. That's Teo, Timud, and Dar, Daur. The word Comdiu, Comdiu, is often used in old writings for master, God, the Godhead, the Lord, and I think always in connection with Christianity. So if you wanted to specifically say the God of Christianity be with you, you would say Comdiu Juch. But if you just want to say a God in general, Giaguch, or whatever God you prefer, insert your preference here. And I think always in connection with Christianity, but it has long fallen into disuse. Lastly, Chirna means Lord. Tá Chirna Lat in the Irish version of the Hail Mary. It was originally and is still applied to an earthly Lord, but like the English word Lord, was often used to designate God as it is to this day. There was a Gaulish god, Isus, whose worship, though at one time pretty much widespread, appears never to have reached Ireland, as his name does not appear in Irish writings. And another one that we had the other day on the Mythical Ireland community on Facebook, somebody shared something about Rhiannon, and it was pointed out that, sometimes, and it's not, there wasn't a mistake or anything, but it's just that sometimes people think that when they see a Celtic god or goddess, they think that automatically means it's Irish. Rhiannon was Welsh and not mentioned in Irish texts. Gods in general, as for instance, somebody once suggested the Sheila na Giga Tara was a representation of Cernunnos, again, a deity not mentioned at Ireland. And by the way, if you see somebody saying Happy Ostara for Happy Easter, Ostara was a Germanic word for that festival, again, not used in Ireland. Gods in general. In Irish literature, both lay and ecclesiastical, we sometimes find vague references to the pagan gods in general terms, without any hint as to their identity or functions. The gods are often referred to in odes and asseverations, and such expressions as the following are constantly put into the mouths of the heroes of the Red Branch. I swear by the gods that my people swear by. We had that, didn't we? Tonga Najea Hongus Mohua. I swear to God what my tribe swears, and I swear to my gods whom I adore. Isn't that fantastic? Muraku, and that is the old Irish name for Murphy. Murphy, in his short Latin life of St. Patrick, written near the end of the 17th century, informs us that when King Leary was setting out for Slane on Easter Eve, AD 433, to arrest St. Patrick, he ordered 9 chariots to be joined together, quote, according to the tradition of the gods, unquote. And there's a footnote there. Oh, yeah, that's from Hogan, which I presume is Hogan's, Edmund Hogan's Onomasticon Gaelicum. All this would seem to imply that, see episode 50 of Live Irish Myths, Supra. Supra is before and infra is after, isn't it? Supra, yes. All this would seem to imply that, as already remarked, we are not in possession of full information regarding pagan Irish worship, that there is something behind those observations of which we know nothing of. Office care, the Woodsies are in the house. Great to see you. Is everybody okay? Tom is having stopped for the moment. Shoal pins, a technical problem. Is that on your end, Tom? I hope that's not a technical problem with the stream. Please tell me that it's not. Individual gods. Well, we have a number of individual gods of very distinct personality who figure in the Romantic literature. Some beneficent and some evil. The names of many of them have been identified with those of the ancient Gaulish gods, a thing that might be anticipated, inasmuch as the Gaelic people of Ireland and Scotland are a branch of the Celts or Gauls from the continent, and brought with them, at their separation from the main stock, the language, the traditions, and the mythology of their original home. Don't forget that we had Bob Quinn, the wonderful Bob Quinn of the Atlantean Irish, as a Live Irish Myths in Conversation guest. And he has a different opinion. It's not all as Celtic as we think. That there's definitely what shall we say? There are definitely hints of North Africa and the Middle East in terms of some of our culture. She, or F word. The pagan Irish worshipped the she. In Irish, that's S-I-D-E, and that is spelled a various number of ways. S-I for D, S-I for D-H-E, etc. Pronounced she, S-H-E-E, i.e. the earth gods, or F-words, or elves. In proof of this, many passages might be cited from both the lay and the ecclesiastical literature, but perhaps the most precise statement, as well as the oldest, occurs in Fiach's hymn to St. Patrick. Till the apostle, this is a quote, till the apostle Patrick came to them, darkness lay on Ireland's folk. All this Christian propaganda always says that we were in darkness before Christianity came. The tribes worshipped the she. What the ecclesiastical scribes fail to acknowledge in many cases is that for a long, long time after St. Patrick arrived, Irish people still worshipped the she. They might have done it privately and in sort of, not in tangent, in parallel with their Christianity, but they did all the same. A part of this worship was intended for the F words collectively, and a part was often meant for individuals who will be named as we go along, and that's what we're getting to. F words, says Mandy McCurl. Chungus says LMAO or F words. I guess you wouldn't want to upset them. Well, Chungus, you may not have been here in previous episodes when, at the mere utterance of the word, all technology threw the dummy out of the pram and decided not to work. So no, we don't mention them by word. These Sidhe are closely mixed up with the mythical race called the Tuatha Dé Danann, or more shortly, Dé Dananns, to whom the great majority of the F-word gods belonged, and it will be proper to give here some information regarding both combined, and thus we are rapidly heading towards the subject matter in hand. The name Tuatha Dé Danann signifies the Tua, or people, of the goddess Danu or Danann, who was the, quote, mother of the gods, unquote, and who will be found mentioned farther on. According to our bardic chroniclers, the Dé Dananns were the fourth of the prehistoric colonies that arrived in Ireland many centuries before the Christian era. And of course, you want to see Keating's History of Ireland, but more importantly, what you want to read there is Lawer Gawala Éireann, the book of the taking of Ireland, or the book of invasions, as it's commonly known. They were great magicians and were highly skilled in science and metalworking. Isn't that right, Tom King? After inhabiting Ireland for about 200 years, they were conquered by the people of the fifth and last colony, the Milesians. And again, we've done episodes about the Milesians. Go back up through the list. If you're a recent arriver to the Live Irish Myth series, well, this is episode 141, so there's lots of material there for you to enjoy. When they had been finally defeated in 2 decisive battles, they held secret council and arranged that the several chiefs with their followers were to take up their residence in the pleasant hills all over the country, the Sidhe, or elf mounds, where they could live free from observation or molestation. A detailed account of their final dispersion is given in the Book of Fermoy, a manuscript copied from older books in 1463, where it is related that the Dé Dananns, after 2 disastrous battles, held a meeting at Brew on the Boyne, that is, at Brú-na-Bóinne, more precisely probably at Newgrange, under the presidency of Manannán mac Lir. And by his advice, they distributed and quartered themselves on the pleasant hills and plains of Éireann. And of course, that's the one that's known as, well, those 2 versions, the Gawal and Sidhe, the distribution of the fairy mounds, or the F-word mounds. I definitely did not say that. Definitely did not say that. The Gawal and Sidhe, the distribution of the otherworld mounds, and the Fogáil in Sidhe. I think that's the one that Manannán is the distributor of. Sorry, I'm just taking a note there. Also, am I right in saying, was the Book of Fermoy, is that the one that's being returned to Ireland? There were headlines about that in the past 6 months. Maybe somebody could correct me if I'm wrong about that. Bov Jarug, son of the Dagda, was chosen king, and Manannán arranged the different dwelling places among the hills for the nobles. So let's pretend that didn't happen. Okay, we just keep going. The detailed account of their final dispersion is in the Book of Fermoy, compiled from older books in 1463. Manannán arranged the different dwelling places among the hills for the nobles. Deep underground in these abodes, they built themselves glorious palaces, all ablaze with light and glittering with gems and gold. Sometimes their palaces were situated under wells or lakes, or under the sea. A different account is given in a much more ancient authority, the 8th or 9th century tale called Mesca Ulad, in the Book of Leinster even, which recounts that after the battles, Amergin, the Milesian Brehon, was called on to divide Éireann between the conquering and the conquered races. And he gave the part of Éireann that was underground to the Dé Dananns, and the other part, there's in brackets here, spiritual Dé Dananns, and the other part to his own corporeal people, the sons of Mila. After which the Dé Dananns went into the hills and F-word palaces and became gods. And of course, that is the story as it is recounted in Lawer Gawala, that the humans, the mortals, take the surface world and the Dé Dananns, the Sidhe, take the Sidhe world, which is often said to be the underworld, but it's not. It's the other world. It's just that sometimes you have to go in down into the tunnel or down into the cave or into the womb to access that realm. Apparently there are problems with the feed. I wonder why that happened. Oh, I should have gone through this beforehand and marked every instance. I wouldn't mind. I wasn't even reading at the time. I just blurted it out. I do apologise. I shall leave a drop of milk for them this evening in recompense. But it is to be observed that individuals belonging to other races, as for instance some of the Milesian chiefs, became F-word gods and dwelt in the Sidhe, for which see page 261 infra. Yeah, supra is before, infra is after. In a passage in one tale, even the Fomorians are said to be dwellers in the Sidhe, and that is in Revue Celtique, and that is Revue Celtique number 7. But number XII is number 12. It's definitely not number 7, actually. That's VII. So Revue Celtique was a journal on Celtic mythology and philology. That was first edited by Arbois de Jubainville and published in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. I think it changed its name later on. But you know what? Even though some of it's in French and some of it's in German and some of it's just the Irish, it's a tremendously valuable source. And in fact, Revue Celtique is referenced quite heavily in the forthcoming monograph about Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge. Because at the time, basically all the scholars were contributing to the same few hefty academic journals. All the geniuses of their days, the likes of our friends Whitley Stokes and Kuno Meyer and Rolf Turnuysen and all of those, they were fabulously brilliant scholars. I mean, they really were exceptional. And it is thanks mostly to their work that all of the popular works about Irish mythology exist. Because otherwise, one would have to do a Morgan Daimler. And as you know from Morgan having been on our show a couple of times, Morgan decided, look, I can't stand this having to refer to all these, antiquarian or older sources using their archaic English. I'm going to learn, early and Middle Irish myself and do all the translations myself, and that's what she did. And I'm very jealous of that skill. It's a skill I would love to possess. The Sidhe seem indeed to have been looked upon as the home of many classes of supernatural beings, as in the case of Morrigu, mentioned below, who is stated to have come out of the elf mounds. Sheev. In one of the stories of the Táin, as well as in other tales, we meet with a statement in connection with the Dé Dananns, which is somewhat obscure. On one occasion, Cuchulainn, being tired and thirsty after a fight, comes to an old woman who was the Morrigu in disguise and had come out of the Sidhe, milking a cow, and asked her for a drink. And when she had given it to him, he said, "The blessing of the Dee and of the Andi be upon thee, Dee gods, Andi non-gods." And this explanatory note is added in the LL text. LL, I'm pretty sure, is the Book of Leinster. Laura Nuhoval. The Dee were the magicians. Eis Coachta, folk of power, is how it's actually rendered. And the Andi were the husbandsmen. Eis Trevera, folk of ploughing. There you go. The same incident is related in the Cor Anvan. And here the Dee or gods are in one place said to be the magicians, and a little farther on they're given as the poets, the Eis Dana, thus identifying the poets with the magicians. Yes, and if you are able to craft good poetry, you are a magician with words in a way. Did I see Erica Rivertrees in the house? So, is everybody's stream in good health? I'm paranoid now. Is everybody able to see? And is it okay? Oh, okay. No, it's not. I just see a comment from Andy McCurl about buffering. Hope it doesn't buffer too badly. Probably D in this and other passages meant simply the druids or magicians, who are also poets, and the Anji, the ordinary people or laity. Many passages. Michael says it's clear here, no buffering, and that's on YouTube. And Kathleen on Facebook says it's fine, as does somebody else. Perfect, says Karina. Brilliant. Okay, good. Grand. Well, we shall hope to entreat them remarkably with some banya, old banya, later on to assuage their ire. Many passages from old Irish authorities might be cited to show that the Dé Dananns were identified with the she or F words. In the story of the children of Lear, the two sons of the Dé Danann king Bov Jarug are represented as riding forward at the head of a party of their own people, who are called Marcra She, the cavalcade of the she or F words. And in an ancient manuscript copy of Shammachus na Relic, the history of the cemeteries, the following statement occurs in relating to the death of King Cormac MacArt, also featured in the forthcoming monograph about Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge, because Cormac, of course, died when he choked on a salmon bone at Cletchock, overlooking the pool of Fiach where the Salmon of Knowledge was caught. How about that for irony? Or it was the Shiavra, a kind of F words, that killed him, i.e. the Tuatha Dé Dananns, and they were called Shiavra. In a poem in the Book of the Dun Cow, that's Laura Nahira, previously mentioned, Supra, Midger, a noted fairy chief, Midger, apparently he pronounced the D in the middle of two slender vowels like that, like a TH, Midder, a noted fairy chief who had his she or palace. Oh my God, I said it again! I'm just going to leave it there, folks. Good night. Okay, I'll leave 2 pints of milk out for the good folk. Oh, can't believe I just did that. Just when the stream was settling down again, I did it again. I apologise. No harm meant. In a poem in the Book of the Dun Cow, Midger, a noted F-word chief, who had his she or palace under the hill now called Slieve Golry near Arda in Longford, is called Midger of the Tuatha Dé Danann race. I apologise. But an older race of she or earth gods, the local gods of the Aboriginal inhabitants, whoever they may have been, existed in the country before the deification of the Dé Dananns. And with these, the Dé Dananns became mixed up and confounded. This fact did not escape the notice of O'Curry, and he refers here to Eugene O'Curry, who puts it very clearly in an appendix to one of his lectures. And there is a plain of recognition in the existence of older gods in many passages of the ancient authorities. One of the oldest, the Mesca Ulad. What is Mesca? Somebody, I know what it is, I've just forgotten. The intoxication of the Ulstermen, isn't it? Look it up anyway. I think it's the intoxication. Drunkenness or intoxication, yes indeed. One of the oldest, the Mesca Ulad, after describing the arrangement already noticed by which the Dé Dananns were assigned the underground dwellings, goes on to say, quote, the Tuatha Dé Danann then went into hills and F-word palaces, Shivrui, so that they spoke with she underground, implying the previous existence of the she. And in another very old authority, the story of the sickbed of Cuchulainn, the Dé Dananns are represented as on several occasions visiting the palaces of the previously existing F-words. But in course of time, the distinction between the Dé Dananns and their predecessors became lost, so that it will not be necessary to refer to it again as the she or F-words will be treated as if all of one race. Deborah, somebody needs to explain to Deborah. Yes, Deborah, basically, some people consider it bad luck to refer to them directly by their title. So that's why we tend not to. Dwellings of F words. In accordance with all these ancient accounts, it was universally believed that the F words dwelt in habitations in the interior of pleasant hills, which were called by the name of Sidhe. Colgan's explanation of this term gives an admirable epitome of the superstition respecting the Sidhe and its inhabitants. Aforementioned Deborah superstitions. Quote, fantastical spirits are by the Irish called men of the Sidhe because they are seen, as it were, to come out of the beautiful hills to infest people, and hence the vulgar belief that they reside in certain subterraneous habitations within these hills. And these habitations, and sometimes the hills themselves, are called by the Irish Sidhe. And you can see here how basically anything that's not Christian is referred to in very derogatory terms by the archaic writers. The antiquarians used to refer to the monuments as rude stone monuments, and here we have, they're describing their vernacular or their Aboriginal beliefs as vulgar. Here it will be observed that the word Sidhe is applied to the F words themselves, as well as to their abodes. And Sidhe, as meaning F word, is perfectly understood still. When you see a little whirl of dust moving along the road on a fine, calm day, that is called a Sigria, which is basically wind F words, travelling from one lish or elf mount to another, and it would be better to get out of the way. In Colgan's time, the F word superstition, how are we doing for time? Oh, we're okay. The F word superstition had descended to the common people, the vulgus, for the spread of the faith, and the influence of education had disenthralled the minds of the higher classes. But in the 5th century, the existence of the Dina Sidhe, the people of the F word mansions, was an article of belief with the high as well as the low, as may be inferred from the following curious passage in the Book of Armagh from the 8th century, where we find the 2 daughters of Laoghaire, King of Ireland, participating in this superstition. Quote, then St. Patrick came to the well, which is called Clebach, on the side of Crochan, towards the east, and before sunrise, they, Patrick and his companions, sat down near the well. And lo, the 2 daughters of King Leira, Ethne the Fair and Fidelma the Ruddy, came early to the well to wash their hands, as was their custom, and they found near the well a synod of holy bishops with Patrick. And they knew not whence they came, or from what people, or from what country, but supposed them to be fair Sidhe, or gods of the earth, or a phantasm. And that's from the tripartite life of St. Patrick, as recounted or translated by Todd. The ideas prevalent in the 9th, 10th, and 11th centuries as to what the people's beliefs were regarding the F words before the time of St. Patrick are well set forth in the concluding paragraph of the tale of the sickbed of Cuchulainn in the Book of the Dun Cow. Quote, for the demoniac power was great before the faith. See, there's that stuff again about us being demons. And such was its greatness that the demons used to corporeally tempt the people, and they used to shew them delights and secrets, such as how they might become immortal. And it was to these phantoms the ignorant used to apply the name Sidhe. Again, anything that doesn't concur with the Christian worldview. Margaret had an interesting encounter with a dust devil the other day. There was barely a breeze out and a clear sky. I hope you got out of the way. That's definitely the thing to do. Yeah, Deborah, completely concur. Man, they throw that demon thing around, don't they? You know, if it's not Christian, I think I should refocus. Yeah. Numbers of F-word hills, I nearly said it, and sepulchral cairns, not only those enumerated in the Book of Fermoy, but many others, are scattered over the country. Each with a bright palace deep underneath, ruled by its own chief, the tutelary deity. And tutelary is a word that means guardian, isn't it? They are still regarded as F-word haunts, and are held in much superstitious awe by the peasantry. So the fact that they're still held in superstitious awe, does that make us peasants? Leon Leach. Oh, I'm not going to repeat that. Somebody will be upset. We nearly drove through it, says Margaret. Paula Snow Queen is talking about Voldemort. This answers the question as to why Anthony says hi to everyone. We defend better as a group, says Brendan. Hear, Brendan. As that is widely misrepresented. It's actually Hear, Hear, but I often see it online as Here, Here. Hear. We hear you and we agree. Mandy McCarroll says, Mom, the peasant uprising going on here on Live Irish Myths. Nature and powers of the F words. F words, as they are depicted for us in the old writings, occupied an intermediate position between spiritual and corporeal beings. In some passages of the tales, especially those relating to the pagan heaven which they inhabited, they are spoken of as immortal. And they drank of Manannán mac Lir's ale, and ate of the flesh of his swine, which preserved them from old age, decay, and death. But in other passages, they are made subject to death after living an immensely long time. Where have we seen that before? Adam, Noah. They are often presented to us like men and women, and they are sometimes married to mortals. Men fought battles against F words and hacked and killed them, and occasionally attacked their palaces. The Sidhe or F word palace of Croghan was on one occasion attacked and plundered by Ailill and Maeve. And for the identity of those, refer to Toynbee Culnge, because it was their pillow talk that began the whole War of the Bulls. Sometimes the F words fought amongst themselves. In the Ren Dinchanicus, that is the prose Dinchanicus, as translated by Whitley Stokes and available incomplete in the whole lot of Stokes' translation of the prose Dinchanicus in the Ren manuscript are available in Revue Celtique volumes 15 and volumes 16, 1894 and 1895. I have see there where my finger's pointing? Those two. Ren Dinchanicus by Whitley Stokes in Revue Celtique, tome 15 and tome 16, whatever the French for 15 and 16 is. These, what is it? Cans, is it? No, don't even go there. It was in the Ren Dinchanicus. Carry on, Anthony. Stop thinking. It is related that two opposing parties of Fir Sidhe, in other words, F word men, quarrelled and fought it out in the shapes of deer on the plain of Moinmai in Connacht, where several on each side were slain, and mounds were made of the hoofs and antlers that had been knocked off. And that's in Revue Celtique, XVI. That's 16. I have that there, page 274. Let's just for the fun. 274. Tome 16. Let's see. Oh yes, this is the Ren Dinchanicus. There was warfare among the men of the Elf Mounds in Moinmai in Cheerminy between the four kings, Reach and Costov. Costov means Blackfoot, by the way, and Kaival and Etar Etuoline. This was the ground of the warfare, to wit, two lovable maidens who dwelt in the Elf Mound. They were fighting over women. They were fighting over beautiful women. Loch Reach Canas Roain. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Roainmniged. Roain Minyed. Yes. Ni answer, which means not difficult. That. And yeah, so it gives. This is the wonderful thing about Stokes's Ren Dinchanicus in Revue Celtique. He gives the Irish and the English translation. There you go. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted there. Facebook user says, "Good day, everyone." Why is it not telling me the names of some of these Facebook users? Whoever you are, a Facebook user, I would love to be able to address you by name. So I do apologize. There's something going on with Melon app. It's not talking to Facebook as much as it should be. Maybe it's too much mention of the F words is frightening them off. This is getting too funny, says Anne. Men fighting. You see the way when you reference the original source, you find out more information. So I always go to the scholarly sources to see what the story is. Occasionally, one party of F-words engaged mortal chiefs to aid them in their wars against F-word adversaries, which is very interesting when you consider that, when the Vikings came along, and it wasn't just a simple case of Vikings fighting against Irish kings and their companions. It was like Vikings allied with some Irish kings fought against other Vikings who'd allied with other Irish kings. The F-words possessed great preternatural powers. They could make themselves invisible to some persons standing by, while visible to others, as Pallas showed herself to Achilles while remaining invisible to the other Greeks, and that's in the Iliad. But their powers were exercised much oftener for evil than for good, hence the reason people are a little bit reticent about talking about them. They were consequently dreaded rather than loved. A fuller explanation for Deborah about what the whole superstition thing is about. And whatever worship or respect was paid to them was mainly intended to avert mischief. They could wither up the crops over a whole district or strike cattle with disease. The belief that the illness of cattle was sometimes due to F-word malignity found its way even into the Shanachus Mór, in which is mentioned cattle as killed by F-word plague. I very nearly said the word. Giggle snort to Evan said, "Oh, Mom, the flippers over ears on chili for the F-word." No, not that F-word. No, it's not that F-word. It's actually, I think that F-word would nearly be more acceptable to say. And now Brendan is saying, Anthony disappeared, but his voice remains. I need to refresh. You see, this is what happens when we mention them. We're getting on to the deities of the Tuatha Dé Danann shortly, and then we'll be finished episode 1, and we'll have to leave most of the good stuff to episode 2. Love a good cliffhanger. Keep you keen, in which is mentioned cattle as killed by F-word plague, which the gloss explains as broken or diseased kidney. And of course, that's from the Brehon Laws. The Shanachus Mór is the main source, I think, for the Brehon Laws. The women from the F-word hills struck Cuchulainn with little rods, which brought on an illness that nearly killed him. And many other examples of similar infliction occur in the tales. To this day, the peasantry have a lurking belief that cattle and human beings who interfere with the old haunted lisses or forts are often F-word struck, which brings on paralysis or other dangerous illnesses or death. A brief account of a few of the leading Dé Danann and other F-word gods will now be given. Sometimes they are spoken of as gods, sometimes they are regarded as great men who ultimately came to be looked upon as gods. But this same uncertainty, whether a pantheon deities are gods or men, or the tendency to regard them as great men who became deified, is found in the mythology of Greece and indeed in that of all other ancient nations. Now let me just have a look at the list of deities that's to come and how many pages it involves. Yeah, so there's quite a bit to come. So I think we'll just read a couple of pages, and then we'll hold off on the rest of it for the next episode. That sounds like a great thing to do. Maybe I should put out a shot glass for them, says Chungus. Well, it depends on what you put in it. Just make sure it's something acceptable, By the way, I remember discussing this with Eddie Lenihan on the phone. Eddie was, of course, our first guest on the Conversation series a while back. And Eddie has a different way of thinking about that he doesn't think that there should be a problem mentioning the word. We are, I suppose, ostensibly here having a bit of fun as well as anything else. And perhaps, maybe we'll have to have Eddie back for another episode. And maybe that's one of the things we can explore in more depth with him. I think specifically, actually, it was the Irish version of the word, not the English, that you shouldn't be mentioning. But there you go. Manannán mac Lir, he is the first of the deities who is listed by our good friend P.W. Joyce, whose epithet mac Lir signifies son of the sea, and Lir, L-E-R, is sea, genitive Lir, L-I-R, was the Irish sea god. He is usually represented in the old tales as riding on the sea in a chariot at the head of his followers. When Bran, the son of Feivel, had been at sea 2 days and 2 nights, he saw a man in a chariot coming towards him over the sea, who turns out to be Manannán mac Lir, and who, as he paused, spoke in verse and said that the sea to him was a beautiful, flowery plain. Quote, "What is a clear sea for the proud skiff in which Bran is? That is to me a happy plain with profusion of flowers, looking from the chariot of 2 wheels." And that's from the voyage of Bran. And of course, we had the voyage of Mael Doon. Hang on a second. Wait just one moment. Speaking of voyages, they're the Ivram tales. Just newly arrived at the Mythical Ireland Library is by John O'Mara, and that is The Voyage of St. Brendan to the Promised Land. Navigatio Sancti Brendani Abatis. So, we've done Mael Doon. Maybe we'll do the Voyage of Bran, and maybe we'll also do the Voyage of St. Brendan, and we'll compare them, because I reckon there's going to be lots of comparisons. Now, I just want to make a comment at this moment in time that I think that the publishers of this book, the Dolman Press, they did something remarkable, which is brilliant. They chose this navy blue Wibbelin, and they debossed the Dolman Press logo. Sorry, that's here, and the text onto the spine. Do we know anyone else who does that kind of stuff? Yes, we do. Cheap, gimmicky plug for Return to Segish. Yes, look at that. Navy blue Wibbelin, I tell you. Yes. I just know for a fact, before I read it, that book about the Voyage of Brendan is going to be a good one. Anyway, that's one that will make an interesting episode, I'm sure. Because a bit like Mael Doon, he encounters lots of different islands with mysterious happenings going on. yeah, says Sue. Sorry, I do apologise. Advertising a short ad break there, and returning for part 2. This latter part of the account has been adopted in the legends of the saints. Saint Scohin, or Scotinus, used to walk over the sea to Rome in a day and return the next day. Once, when he was thus skimming along like the wind, he met St. Finbar of Cork, who was in a ship. And Finbar asked him why he was travelling over the sea in that manner. Scohin said, because Irish ferries are on strike. Scohin promptly replied that it was not the sea at all, quote, but a flowery shamrock-bearing plain. And here is a proof of it, unquote, said he, extending his hand into the sea. Quote, and he took up therefrom a bunch of purple flowers and cast it to Finbar into the ship, unquote. But Finbar, to disprove Scohin's statement, also stretched his hand into the water, from which he took up a salmon and cast it to Scohin. There's that salmon again. And if you want a better explanation of the salmon, Return to Segish is a brilliant start, and the first monograph series is about Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge. Both available, signed copies at mythicalireland.com. Plug number 72. And so the dispute between the two good saints remained undecided. I do apologise. What time are we on? We're nearly there. We'll give it a few more minutes, and then we'll say we'll cut it off. We'll resume on the next episode. Manannán is still vividly remembered in some parts of Ireland. When did I say this was written? 1930, 19. Earlier than that, 1903. Manannán is still vividly remembered in some parts of Ireland. He is in his glory on a stormy night. And on such a night, when you look out over the sea, there, before your eyes, in the dim gloom, are thousands of Manannán's white-maned steeds careering along after the great chief's chariot, the white horses, pardon me, as many a sailor or fisher person would refer to them. I do apologise. Excuse me. Jackie McCandless, you're very welcome, Jackie. I'm glad you're enjoying the stories and the crack and the conch and all that. One of the islands of the pagan heaven is described in the Voyage of Bran as an isle round which sea horses glisten. According to an oral tradition prevalent in the Isle of Man and in the eastern counties of Leinster, brought from Leinster to Man by the early emigrants, Manannán had 3 legs on which he rolled along on land, wheel-like, always surrounded by a ceodreachta, or magic mist. And this is the origin of the 3-legged figure on the Manx halfpenny. In Cormac's glossary, he is brought down to the level of a mere man, a successful merchant, who afterwards became deified. Manannán MacLear, here's a quote, presumably from Sanas Cormac, celebrated merchant who was, i.e., who took up his abode in the Isle of Man. He was the best pilot that was in the west of Europe. He used to know by studying the sky the period which would be the fine weather and the bad weather, and when each of these 2 times would change. Hence the Irish and the Britons call him the god of the sea, and also MacLear, i.e., son of the sea. And from the name of Manannán, the Isle of Man is so called. But the core of Nán, which however is scarcely so old on authority, says the reverse. He was called Manannán from the Isle of Man. And then we move on to, we'll do a couple more and then we'll be finishing. Because, I don't want to spoil you all in the one time. I mean, everybody's having great fun, obviously. Kathy May Deo says, I'm having salmon tonight. Wonderful. Do you know, I bow, especially with, that's one of the major influencing themes of Return to Segish. I bow to Salmo Salar, the Atlantic salmon, who, are spawned in the pools in the upper reaches of the Boyne River, who live there. First they're called fry, then they're called par, and then they're called smolt. And as smolts, they live there for, I think it's 3 or 4 years, until they develop, their biological system develops so that they can take in salt water. Because remember, these are fish that are hatched in fresh water. And then one day they just say, okay, it's time to go. It's time to go and find the ocean. And they go off down the river. A lot of them don't survive. Something like, a female salmon can produce 10,000 eggs. And something like only 4% of those survive to become fry. And only 1% of them end up swimming down the river. It's fascinating, the numbers. And they go out into the ocean. Well, they're first into the Irish Sea, but then they find the ocean. And the feeding grounds for the Atlantic salmon are apparently in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, up near Greenland. 2,000 miles away. And then one day they just say, all right, time to go home again. And by a miracle of biology and nature and factors that we probably don't have a full grasp of, the same salmon comes back not just to its natal river, in other words, back to the Boyne from 2,000 or 3,000 miles away in the North Atlantic, but to the very pool in which they were spawned, which I just think is the most remarkable thing. And I say that in Return to Segish, that, as someone who is in awe of some of the things us humans have done, communicating with each other instantaneously across the globe through, radio waves and sending men and women to the moon and to space and back, I still think that I hold that return of the salmon to the pools, represented in mythological metaphor by the well of Segish, I still hold that to be, I think, greater than any of the human achievements. It's quite extraordinary. The Dagda was a powerful and beneficent god. Funnily enough, there's a lot of information here about Manannán and only a short amount about the Dagda. So they kind of swap places depending on what source you're reading in terms of their supremacy. Like in some sources, you'll read that Dagda was the chief of the god. He was king of Ireland. He was the king of the Tuatha Dé Danann. He was called Yochi Ullahar, Yochi the good father, Rua Rohasa, which is in the monograph, the Lord of all knowledge. And then in other tales, so for instance, in Altram Chiagalvatar, we find that Manannán is the one who's kind of controlling things at Newgrange. So they swap places. I'm surprised that there isn't more about Dagda here from Joyce. I mean, I contributed to a book about the Dagda, Harp Club and Cauldron, by Eland Otter Press, and there's a huge, vast wealth of material about him. The Dagda was a powerful and beneficent god who ruled as King of Ireland for 80 years. He was sometimes called Rua Rohesa, the Lord of Great Knowledge, from Ro, great, and Fis, genitive Fessa, knowledge. And that's the same O-fish, E-O-F-I-S in Irish is O-fish. And it actually means O is the salmon bit and fish is knowledge. The salmon of, actually no, it means, yes, fish being knowledge, but also wisdom, the salmon of wisdom. For 'tis he that had the perfection of the heathen science. Of course, I don't know who wrote that, but obviously when they mention heathen science, that must have been written by somebody who was Christian. And also Mac Nanul Nama, the son of all the sciences. He seems to have made an ill-assorted marriage, for, according to Cormac's glossary, his wife was known by 3 names, Bray, Meng, and Miavel, i.e. lie, guile, and disgrace. Yes, but then he mated, or he had a physical relationship with Bowen, even though Bowen was married to Alkmaar at Newgrange, and that is how the miracle child Angus Og was conceived, as we have covered in a number of previous episodes. Bov Jarag is the next one, and all of a sudden we're off the Dagda. Bov Jarag, son of the Dagda, had his residence called Shebov on the shore of Loch Derg, somewhere near Portumna. Several hills in Ireland, noted as F-word haunts, took their names from him, and others from his daughter Boo. That's B-U-G-H, but what's pronounced B-O-O. Angus Macinog, another son of the Dagda, was a mighty magician. In the wooing of Emer, he is called a god whose splendid palace at Brew of the Boyne was within the great sepulchral mound of Newgrange, near Drogheda. For the splendours of this palace, see Joyce, Old Celtic Romances, page 186. We might just do that, because I'm going to finish with the gods there for tonight, and we will cover the rest of them in the second part of the episode. I hope that you've enjoyed at least the build-up to that, because there's a lot more to come. What did he say? Old Celtic Romances, page 186. I wonder if that's the one. Let me just check. Which Joyce. Ancient Celtic Romances. P.W. Joyce. I knew it was on the top shelf. What page? What page did we say it was? Oh, I've lost my plate. Lost my glasses. More close here now. You think I'd remember, wouldn't you? Somebody. Hunting Hills is away. Good night. Neil Hughes is in the house. I didn't even see you there, Neil. I hope you're having a good night of it. Yourself and Mary. Page 186. Let me have a look. 186. Oh, yes. And this is in the F Palace of the Quickened Trees, is the name of the story. Well then, said Finn, let there be no further delay. Repeat your poem. So the hero recited the following verse, and this verse is about Brunabonia, the fairy, the F word Palace of Angus. You didn't say it. Just ignore the fact that that happened. I saw a house by a river's shore, famed through Erin in days of yore, radiant with sparkling gems all o'er, its lord deep skilled in magical lore. No conqueror ever defiled its floor, no spoiler can rive its golden store. That's very interesting about the floor, isn't it? Because, it is buried in the floor where they found the bones. O'Kelly found the bones that were later dated, and the DNA found some interesting things. No spoiler can rive its golden store. Fire cannot burn its battlements hoar. Safe it stands when the torrents pour. Now, this is obviously based on an Irish verse, and the fact that it's rhyming in English says that words were definitely added. Feasting and joy forevermore to all who enter its open door. Now, if thou hast learned a champion's lore, tell me the name of that mansion whore. With roof of crystal and marble floor, the mansion I saw by the river's shore. I can explain that poem, said Finn. The mansion you saw is Brua of the Boyne, the F-word palace of Angus, the Dé Danann prince, son of the Dagda, which is open to all who wish to partake of its feasts and enjoyments. It cannot be burned by fire, or drowned by water, or spoiled by robbers, on account of the great power of its lord and master. For there is not now, and there never was, and there never shall be in Erin, a man more skilled in magic arts than Angus of the Brua. That is the sense of my poem, said the stranger. And now listen to this other, and explain it to me if thou canst. I saw to the south a bright-faced queen, with couch of crystal and robe of green, a numerous offspring, sprightly and small. Plain through her skin you can see them all. Slowly she moves, and yet her speed exceeds the pace of the swiftest steed. Now tell me the name of that wondrous queen, with her couch of crystal and robe of green. I understand the sense of that poem also, said Finn. The queen you saw is the River Boyne, which flows by the south side of the Palace of Brua. Her couch of crystal is the sandy bed of the river, and her robe of green, the grassy plain of Brea, through which it flows. Her children, which you can see through her skin, are the speckled salmon, the lively, pretty trout, and all the other fish that swim in the clear water of the river. The river flows slowly indeed, but its waters traverse the whole world in 7 years, which is more than the swiftest steed can do. And who can argue about the veracity of that claim? Who can say? Something that actually was discussed in my first work of fiction, the novella Land of the Ever-Living Ones, is a conversation between a Chandri, an old man, a wise old man, a druid, and a young boy. And one of the things they talk about is water. And he talks about how a drop of water may have spent thousands of years of its life, beneath the earth in the limestone before coming out in through a spring, that it might have flowed down as a drop in a river, and that it might have gone out into the sea, and then it might have been evaporated into a cloud, and it might have been up at the very top of a cumulonimbus cloud, like way up at the top of the troposphere, and fallen again as rain, and been several times around the earth. It's fantastic stuff. Yes, Alar is asking, that's Hoar, Hoar. I presume hoary as in to do with age, hoary with age as in ancient. Everybody's saying goodnight, so I think it's about time. When a monarch butterfly, says Anne McCallum, starts the migration from north to south, it's the child that arrives. south, and it's the grandchild who starts the journey back north and the great-grandchild who returns north. In other words, a monarch butterfly starts the journey, and it's the fourth generation that returns to the exact same spot. Migrating creatures are amazing. Can't disagree with that, Anne. Incredible stuff. So I hope you've all had a good time. I have a very old copy of that book, which has the story of Loch Ness and the Liban, the Loch Ness mermaid. Jim, is that the romances one, or is that the social history one? I presume it's the ancient Celtic romances, is it? Brilliant stuff. I just have one of the more popular modern reprints. Neil Hughes says, we are indeed, Anthony. Problems connecting earlier. I think that could have been my fault. I mentioned the F word, too many times. Aaron Durrett, it's a delight to have you back in the fold, and I hope that you're keeping well. Just a reminder before I go, I have to get the plug in. Please do consider getting yourself a copy of the new monograph on Finn. I am getting a very limited print run done, and it's only a tenner. So please do consider getting yourself a copy. I will actually, before I go, I'll paste in the link while I ask some answer. Would you post the Patreon page as well? Deborah wants. Okay, so I have three things to do. First is where you can pre-order the signed copy of the monograph. I'm hoping to have it in about a week's time, maybe 10 days. I'm going to paste that in as a link beneath the video here on Facebook and also on YouTube. If I can mute that.
Dear people.
Yes, I'm going to mute that so we don't hear it. Just pasting that as a comment there. So that's the monograph about Finn and the salmon. That's where you can get that. Pre-order your signed copy. I see I'm being referred to on the Mythical Ireland community as F being for frozen. I do apologise. And Charlene Ramos has found the thing captivating, which is brilliant. And there are several people whose comments there I may not have seen, so I apologise. Now, what was the other one? Patreon, yes, of course. Patreon, well, that's fairly straightforward. patreon.com, patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. And I'll paste that in as well. And yeah, please do consider becoming a patron, because not only do you get stuff, exclusive stuff and all that, but if you're at the right level, you get merchandise as well. Mythical Ireland merchandise. There you go. Who even knew such a thing existed? There are people getting mugs and posters and stuff. So I hope that has done it. Now, what else was I to do? Oh, yes. The name of the book is A Social History of Ancient Ireland, and that's by P.W. Joyce, and it was published in 1903. And I was reading from Volume 1. I'll just open the title page there so you can see it. A Social History of Ancient Ireland by P.W. Joyce. So I hope that answers your questions. Somebody wants to know when is part 2. I don't know, is the honest answer. I'm back to work tomorrow, and yeah, whenever I can. Usually they're now held weekly. For 102 episodes last year, they were held every day, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't keep up that pace. So possibly next Monday, but possibly sometime in between. Depends on whether time allows. Miriam is in the house. Hello, Miriam. Glad to see you there. Looking forward to having you on Writer's Block with Miriam very soon. And that is something I'm very much looking forward to too. And I hope that you are enjoying Return to Segish. I hope that you have found it a wonderful immersion in so many respects. Tamara says Sláinte and Ichawa Nadina Golair. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all if I don't do the second part of this, our lockdown limit has been 5 kilometers for 100 days, believe it or not. But today it has opened up to 20 kilometers, and I am itching to get out into the landscape. So if I do that, I'm able to get to more places now. I will probably do a live stream from the landscape during the week. So I can't say when that will be. That's the only thing. And that will probably be on Facebook only. So make sure to get over to the Facebook page, which is the main Facebook page, facebook.com/Mythical Ireland. In the meantime, keep washing your hands. I have my little bottle of hand sanitizer here, and wear the mask if you're going out among people at all. If you've been vaccinated, fair play to you, and hopefully that will make you immune to any of the nastiness that this thing brings. In the meantime, keep hanging in there. Things are getting brighter and better, and soon enough this thing will be over. You know it will. Linda Seaver is loving Return to Segish. Great stuff, Linda. Delighted to hear it. And hopefully, don't forget, by the way, any of you who are reading it, if you're on Amazon, don't forget to give it a review on Amazon, because there are no reviews on Amazon so far. And you know yourself, a good review can help enormously, in terms of encouraging other people to read it. Anne McCallum wants me to give the link to Writer's Block. Oh yeah, that's I'm subscribed to that on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you live stream to any other Facebook or anything, Miriam, but Writer's Block with Miriam. Hang on till I just find the channel here, and I will copy that and paste that in as a comment. Thank you for asking, Anne McCallum. I will announce it. I don't think it's not streamed, Miriam, isn't it? Not. It's a recorded interview. So, like, as soon as it becomes available, don't worry, I will share it on all of the pages, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy it. So that's it. That's our lot for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, not currently, says Miriam. That's fine. But it will be available as a YouTube video afterwards, and I will share the hell out of it, as they say. Unless, of course, Miriam ends up not liking Segish at all and slating me on the programme, which I doubt very much. I have a feeling you'll really love it. But good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all soon. And it's good to be back doing the regular series. And I've really enjoyed myself tonight. Notwithstanding the technical hitches, most of which were completely my fault. Good night. Ikawa, Kulasov, Slán Gafol, August, most importantly, Toga Bugay. Take it easy, everyone. Good night.